Hello and a very good noon to all those who are joining me in this live interaction on Facebook and YouTube pages of News 9. And today I will be speaking about the 5-point strategy which India is working on currently in order to form its vaccine diplomacy, COVID-19 vaccine diplomacy. So the central government is currently working on close to 5 models in which it can help its immediate neighbors and also West Asian countries, Africa and even Latin America. And the intention behind this idea is to bank on the country standing as the world's vaccine factory to fuse diplomatic ties with other nations. Well, I will tell you about those 5 models in a bit, but as of now, Indian companies are working on 2 vaccines which are currently in clinical trials. The first is AstraZeneca and the second is COVAX by Bharat Biotech, and both these vaccines are currently in clinical trial phases as well. And the 5 models that the Indian government is working on will be for these 2 vaccines, and the work is still in progress and the plan is yet to be finalized. And another important factor is that, for instance, those supplying vaccines have to respect the licensing agreements that will decide whether they can sell the vaccine or not. Unlicensed platforms will be considered as illegal and the government will take strict action against them, because licensing is very important. Not everybody will be made or will be given the permission to sell vaccines throughout the country and even across other countries as well. So the government's policies must be also respected, and they should be a licensed distributor in order to distribute or supply COVID-19 vaccines if it is available in the nearest future. So now you might be wondering what the 5 strategies that India is planning. Well, the first model includes free distribution to immediate neighbors such as Bangladesh, Afghanistan and other SAARC nations. But Pakistan is not part of this strategy yet. Well, you might wonder why Pakistan could not be included in this strategy, because everybody knows and believes that Pakistan would probably be relying on the Chinese vaccines that are currently under development. The ties between the 2 countries are such that Pakistan would rather rely on China than India. And currently, even in China, the vaccines are under various phases of testing, and if they are approved, Pakistan, which is its immediate close neighbor, could also get a shot of that vaccine from China as well. So with that in mind, India has yet not included Pakistan in that list. But if China is not willing to provide its vaccine shots to Pakistan, then Pakistan will probably be isolated and it won't have any source of vaccine unless it goes ahead and develops its own. And the second model involves heavily subsidized supplies as part of India's international commitments for equitable distribution. So just a few days back, I spoke to you about COVID-19 vaccine nationalism, which is the powerful and the wealthiest nations stocking up vaccines because they have the money for the vaccines. So the poor nations will be deprived of vaccines. So in order to avoid vaccine nationalism, the second model entails heavily subsidized vaccines being distributed to poor countries as part of India's international obligations, and many African nations could benefit from this strategy of India. And in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Independence Day speech said that India is prepared to mass produce COVID-19 vaccines for domestic consumption when the vaccines are approved. He also stressed that India's close neighbors and allies will be part of this particular venture. So suppose India gets a vaccine out in the next couple of months or early next year, then the close neighbors and even the poor nations will benefit from India's second model, which revolves around distributing distributing vaccines at subsidized rates to poor countries. Well, that was about the second model. And the third module involves striking market price purchase deals with countries with supplies guarantees. So this basically means that as and when vaccines are ready, they will not be available in the open market, but will be distributed through a strict government controlled channel in order to avoid, like I said, unlicensed suppliers. So even if a country is sitting on trillions of dollars, it will not be able to buy it off the shelf because it has to be equally distributed. First, the poor countries will also get the benefit of it, and even the rich countries will be allowed to buy or get the vaccines from India, but they will not be able to buy the entire lot, even though they have trillions of dollars. So that ensured India is keeping that in the third module and restricting powerful countries from hoarding the vaccines. So under the fourth model, which you might be now looking forward to hear from me, well, some of the countries will be approached in to participate in phase 3 trials of the two Indian candidates. So AstraZeneca, which is a British company and which is tied up with the Serum Institute of India, which is the largest manufacturer of pharmaceuticals, and also the Bharat Biotech. Both of these vaccines are in the clinical trial phases, and some of the countries will be asked to send their candidates for the trial phase as well. So countries participating in this particular exercise will also be made available with the vaccine. So the fifth and the final model, where India may offer opportunities to some countries to co-produce the two domestic vaccines, and this move could hasten the production of these vaccines. Like the British pharma giant has tied up with Indian Serum Institute in Pune, India also might tie up with some other manufacturer in other countries in order to hasten the production of vaccines. And by doing so, the vaccines will be produced in larger scales at a faster pace, and it will be made available to all those who are in need of a vaccine immediately. That involves the vulnerable group and also the frontline warriors who are directly exposed to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the entire exercise will take place under the close supervision of the expert panel headed by Dr. Paul and co-chaired by Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan as well. And while it isn't clear when the first vaccines will be available in India, Indian authorities told a parliament panel earlier this month that they are keeping the option of an emergency authorization of vaccines undergoing clinical trials for use. Suppose there's an emergency in the country and they need a vaccine, but it is still not yet approved. There are certain protocols which they can instigate, and emergency authorization will be given to the two vaccines which are undergoing clinical trial phases in India. So as of now, the vaccines are currently in clinical trial phases, and these 5 models will be strategized by India in order to distribute vaccines and also make the vaccine available to all the poor countries and also those who really need it, than just supplying it to the wealthiest nations with lots of money who will probably look to hoard these vaccines. So in order to avoid all of that, in order to avoid vaccine nationalism, India has come out with its 5-point strategy towards COVID-19 vaccine diplomacy. So guys, what do you think about India's 5-point strategy? You can leave your comments below, and in my next interaction, I will speak to you about a post-traumatic stress disorder which people are facing because of the lockdown. So stay tuned for that. Until then, take care and stay safe.